Hi, my name is Sam. Hi, my name is Khadija. Today my sister will be showing me 2 videos and we will be choosing our favourite and why we like it. And first we will be watching the preliminary task. Why are they using fake money? Is it us? That's sad. And now we will be watching the 0359 video. Scary someone.
It's been following me for like 15 minutes now. Okay, tell me your name and location. Please help me. It's a dead end. It's a dead end.
No wonder.
Which video did you like better? The first one or the second one?
Second one.
What about you, Khadija?
I like the second one.
So Saim, why did you like the second video better?
Because you are in it.
Okay. Right, Khadija.
Because it is a mystery.
And the first one didn't have much mystery in it.
No. Film the number 2 film. This boy was chasing her and they called the police. That was you, 999, and then she found the dead end.
That's good. And did you like the second one better than the first one?
I like the second one better.
And did you understand what the first one?
No, I didn't.
You'll be watching the preliminary task first.
Wait, is that the real money? The money.
Now you'll be watching the Act 0359 film opening.
Introduction.
I don't know what to do. It's been following me for like 15 minutes now. Okay, tell me your name and location. Please help me. Oh shit. It's a dead end. It's a dead end.
Or is it 0359?
Okay. Which video did you like better, the first or the second one?
The video that I preferred was the second one. The reason for that is because there was more shots in compared to the first one. There was more different angles, close-ups, there was long shots, there was establishing shots, and there was more music, and the music made you feel like there was more emotion.
More tension.
Yeah, for the audience, it made us connect with the actual movie.
Which video did you prefer, the first or the second?
I prefer the second one because the mise en scène in that video was better than the first one. The use of props, for example, the forensic scientist had the prop on.
And the tape, the crime scene investigation.
And the crime scene investigation tape.
It made it seem more real.
It made it seem more real.
The use of the cameras that the forensic scientist had, and the shot of that made it seem like all the focus should be on the
crime scene,
the victim, and you felt like it was a real crime scene.
I think the second one made good use of the title because the casting font was good, the size was excellent, the colours showed. As the film was going on, you could see the title clearly of each person in the cast. The 0359 was an excellent shot as a title because the colour was red and it showed one of the aspects of what the film is about, which is crime, and the size of that title was big and bold, and that showed that title is very important in the film.
And I think that signified blood as well, related to the actual story. And I think it was good to use the colour red.
It showed the murder side of things, which we kind of understood in the second video. Another mise-en-scène that I noticed in the video, which was really good, were the detectives. They were dressed very professionally. They you could see one of them had a humorous side to him, and the other one, the main guy, by the looks of it, remained very professional throughout the shot, and he seemed concerned about the scene. And eventually, when the main detective arrived, the comical guy, he looked more serious and more concerned about the scene. Clearly he was waiting for the main detective.
I think that scene is quite a good scene because it was showing two characters. They have the same occupation, however it was showing two different sides of them. One was very comical, one was quite serious, and you could see that in that shot. It was going in between both characters. First it was showing the first policeman eating a donut and he was joking around, and then the shots of the second policeman that comes becomes very serious music. It shows his feet coming out of the car, and then when they approached, it both just joined together.
And another point is with this, I think you touched on it already, is the shots from the close-up shots, far-away shots, and the moving shots really helped emphasize the scene and what was going on in the video, and it gave us more clearer ideas of who the characters are and what their role is in the film.
So what do you think lacked in the first video?
In the first video, I think the camera shots weren't that good in the first video. You could see in the scene where he's sitting down, I think it seemed very inconsistent. The shots were, it was glitching. It was the same shot but in different seconds, so it wasn't one complete shot, so it didn't seem like it was flowing, the video.
Yeah, I think another thing that the first video had lacked compared to the second video is that the use of original sound. There was barely any original sounds used.
Using that music would have been fine, but I think after the punch was thrown, it would have been better if it was a serious soundtrack that came on, because it just seemed like it didn't make sense having that music while him getting punched. It should have been more serious music so that the audience can feel the emotion of the victim. So yeah, I think they should have used a different, maybe sadder.
And then another thing I noticed that the first video had lacked compared to the second one is the use of title. I think there was little or no title use at all, which would have helped the situation, as there wasn't. If there was codes like the second video had used, we would have understood the scene better, and people and the actors weren't talking as much as well, so we couldn't get the true feeling of what the scene was about compared to the second one. The use of title in that sense would have been better.
One thing I did like about that scene was the mid-shot or establishing shot of when they were dealing. It shows the bin and it shows the alleyway. I think that was a really good shot because it shows that they're in a dark place, and it shows the realistic side because they normally happen in those areas, and they put that there. And I like the high to low shot, so high angle. The high angle, that was really nice. It showed that maybe it was something that they're not supposed to do. It shows that it's a act that is frowned upon, so that's why that shot, I think it was really good. It seemed like a camera was looking at them. However, I think that when it came to the scene where the punch scene, it felt like it wasn't really real. It felt like it was not rehearsed. It felt like it was a movie. So I think what they should have done was actually gone into that role and thrown a good punch. So it
Made it more realistic. in
made
that
it more
sense.
realistic, because then it just seemed like, okay, what was that? And then he fell. It didn't seem really.
The punchy scene didn't flow in as to what was happening in the situation, which would have, I guess, created more of a shocked emotion from the audience if it was rehearsed better.
Yeah, I think it should have been slow motion as well. If I don't know if it was slow motion, but it would have been better slow motion, so you could make the audience feel something for that character.
This is the preliminary task. Okay, this is the 0359 video.
He's been following me for like 15 minutes now. Okay, tell me your name and location. Please help me.
Which video did you like better, the first or the second video?
I like the second one better.
What about you?
I like the second one better.
And why is that?
Mainly because the first video was really short. I don't know, it had no meaning, if you get me, because it was just about him counting his money and then drug dealing and then him getting punched. But whereas the second video, it had a whole like story to it.
I like the second video because it had different camera angles, and the first video was like didn't use the use of camera angles. Like if they had the camera like far away, then it would have looked better, but they didn't.
I like the second one because there was more use of like appropriate music, and there was different camera angles and camera movement. Like it showed like the mise-en-scène, had the police tape, it had the camera, like it had the surroundings and everything. It looked really realistic.
In the second one, I liked the use of sound. It sounded really scary, and it complemented the genre, which is crime, and like it was appropriate for the scene.
In the first video, there was hardly use of editing. Like for example, the second video had a big bold title for it at the start of the video, which was like a scary theme. It was a font of blood dripping, and that just represents danger, along with the color red. It represents danger, and it gave it a scary theme. Like,
So what lacked in the first video?
the setting that they did use was our school, Sergeant Cass. Obviously we recognise it because we go to the school, so it was a very creative location for a gangster fighting crime.
First one, the acting was like not really good, because you know when the person punched the other person, it looked like they weren't putting emphasis on it. It's like they didn't look really realistic.
In the second video, the acting was really good. The
the victim, the girl, she had good expression in her voice, like different tones she used for like the tones she used was fear and shock. So from the feedback I got and in my own opinion, I think that we have as a group progressed a lot from our preliminary tasks to our actual film opening, and I think this is due to many reasons, and the fact that the main reason is teamwork. I mean, in the preliminary task we just got put into our group, so it was harder for us to listen to each other and work together because we just started off as a new group. So we had to really work on our team working skills, and now over the time has gone and that we've gotten used to each other, we really did start to listen to each other, and we started taking other people's ideas into perspective, and it really did building up our teamwork did really help us make a better film opening. Also, in the preliminary tasks we only had 2 hours to do this because we had to film it during 2 lessons, so this made it really hard for us to get all the story, the mise-en-scène, the props, everything, the casting. We needed to use our own group members to act out the scene, and it was really unplanned, and we didn't do much research on it because we only had 2 hours. We had to film our preliminary task and we had to edit it in those 2 hours, so I think that it was a bit rushed, so we couldn't really think about the mise-en-scène, we couldn't really think about the casting, we couldn't really think about using a variety of different shots. And at that time we were still new to the amount of knowledge we knew about the camera shots and how important it is, so and what camera shots is used for what effect and etc. So in our actual film opening we had like 2-3 months to film it, to research, to plan, to find actors, actresses, everything, and this really did help us create a better film opening because we could think about the storyline, we can think about getting ideas from other people, like we pitched our ideas to the class, etc., and they gave us feedback to improve our storyline and film opening, and we had the chance to decide what camera shots and angles we used, and to have a location, to see what locations we could use. Like, we researched upon that, and I think that this was a very important part in constructing our film opening, because having the time to plan, to look at the location, to think about casting options and everything really did help us make a much better film opening. Like with the preliminary task, the mise-en-scène was not very good because we used fake money. I mean, we couldn't at that time, none of us had that much money on us, so we couldn't use real money, so this would have potentially got us lower marks. But since we had the time to plan it, we could get that. Since we had time to plan it for our film opening, we could get the props and everything we needed, which we did. Like for our crime scene, it really did create a realistic crime scene because of the mise-en-scène we used. Also, we had, in our preliminary task, we had time to think about, we didn't have time to think about the costumes the casting wore. I mean, it was very lucky that they had hoodies to show that they were gangsters, but that was by chance, so we wouldn't have really gotten much marks on the costumes either. But in the our actual film opening, the 2 detectives wore suits, which from our research we could see that most detectives in other films wore suits, and this made it very realistic. Also, we had researched forensic investigators, the people who take photos of the victim, and we researched that they wear these boiler suits, and we wanted to get that for our film opening, so it makes our film opening look realistic as a whole. So it was really important that we had the time so we could think about all these things. Also, with our film opening, we used our own music, so we created that music ourselves, whereas the preliminary task we used someone else's track. So I think that this really did help us. Like from our preliminary task, we didn't know anything about the software Logic, which helped us make the music track so for our film opening. So I think we did progress in sound, definitely. Also, in terms of editing, there was not much feedback from my feedback. So I think in terms of us constructing it, I think in terms of editing, I think that also, because from the feedback I got from my sisters, they weren't there to construct it, so they couldn't talk about the editing much, as they're not aware of the editing. So I think that because I was there while watching, I think that in our preliminary task, our editing was very limited. Like, I mean, there was not much reverse shots, jump cuts, etc. And I think that this really did, like, we used a more of a variety of editing, especially that we had researched on our editing about the fact that different editing types can mean different things and can be used for effect. So we had the time to do this, but in the preliminary task we didn't have time to do anything. We just had to go out and film there. Also, in terms of titles, I think that in the preliminary task, since we obviously again didn't have time, we couldn't make the titles for it, but in our film opening we did have the time and we used the software called Motion. And I think that from our research also, we could see that there was specific type of movements in crime films that they used for their credits and titles, so we thought that we need to make it more scarier. So for our 0359 title we used the colour red, and it did look like blood, and that would connote danger and crime and violence, etc. And with our titles we made it move and shock and shake to complement and reinforce our genre crime. So all in all, to conclude, that I think that we have improved a significant amount from our preliminary task to our film opening.